not go paddleboarding when it is super windy, and do not go paddleboarding down rivers with really, really strong currents, because the chances of you getting back are not good, especially when you're tired too, because when you're coming back, you're more tired than when you started.
Stay tuned to the end of the video because we will tell you the story of what happened last year when we were on one of the most treacherous Great Lakes and how we survived. So literally. Stay tuned for that. We'll tell you the story later.
This spring has literally, and I am not over exaggerating here, it has literally been the longest, coldest, rainiest, crappiest spring that I can remember. And so today is a really nice day. We blew up the paddle boards last night. We have blow up paddle boards. And so I'm gonna go and check in the garage and make sure. We wanted to leave them blown up overnight to just make sure there was no holes in them or anything. I didn't want to find out the hard way on the middle of a freaking lake if there was any leaks or anything like that. So they look good from here, but let's go and have a look here. Let's go see. Okay, they look good. I sanitized them and sprayed them all down last night because they've been sitting stored in the winter. And these honestly are a couple of the cheaper paddle boards that you can buy. I can't remember, I think they're maybe $2.50 each. So we were just a little bit nervous when we bought them because, I mean, if you're in the middle of the lake and something happens, that's kind of an issue, right? So we were nervous to buy the cheap ones, but we also didn't want to invest a lot of money in them because we didn't know if we were actually going to enjoy paddleboarding as much as we have. Literally last year, we went out every single weekend that was sunny and beautiful weather on the paddleboards. We spent our entire summer on the lake. It was so beautiful. So let's give it the walk test. Feels nice and sturdy. Perfect. Now this is mine. Let's go check out Chad's here. Yep, feeling pretty solid. Welcome to my garage. This is our garage, AKA marketplace stuff that's for sale, and some of the belongings over here that we'll be taking with us, a few bins, and it's actually just doubling as our storage unit right now. So I'm just waiting for Chad to get home. He's running a half marathon tomorrow, so he went to town to go and grab his race kit. So he will be home shortly, and then we'll be packaging this up and hitting the road and bringing you guys along to come paddleboarding with us. So it should be a really good day. Excited to have you guys there. I got the Jeep packed up and ready to go. Found my husband. We're really excited. So in this episode, we're going to be sharing what we love about paddleboarding, things that we hate about paddleboarding, some safety things that we learned the hard way last year. Last year was our first season paddleboarding, and we'd both never done it before, and we learned some hard lessons last year.
Exactly. We were total newbies, but yeah we really took on quick, and we loved it. We had such a great time all last summer, so we're excited to dive in this year as well.
Yeah, and we're going to be sharing our opinion on kayaking, canoeing, boating, and paddleboarding, and which ones are our favorites. And we've done all of them, so we know the pros and cons of all of those things are. So we're going to go over that with you in this episode and take you along on a vlog style journey of us going paddleboarding. And we're headed to one of our favorite local spots in Waterford. It's a really nice, flat,
beautiful spot,
calm lake, which is great for recording video and bringing very expensive camera equipment on the paddleboard. Not a great idea to do on one of the Great Lakes or anything that's windy or wavy or anything like that, although I do get a little risky and do it sometimes. Okay, we just got to where we're getting to, and Chad is going to start unpacking and inflating paddleboards. By the end of last year, we ended up getting electric pumps after numerous times of hand pumping these bad boys, which
it's no fun.
No fun, but I was surprised at how well the hand pumps actually did work. Mind you, the electric ones are.
Yeah, that's because I did
all.
all the hand pumping and you just sat in the car in the AC and watched.
That's very true. That's probably why I didn't think of it.
Chad was drenched in sweat just pumping away like this. So strongly recommend getting an electric pump.
Yeah, it is a really intense workout, honestly, especially when you're doing two. How long would you say that it takes to pump up like one
About
board?
10-15 minutes per board. Did you turn it on?
Pump it up.
Pump it up.
I also have this super cute life jacket for when I bring my little cocker spaniel on the board. We didn't bring her this time, but the little shark fin life jacket. Isn't that so cute? We don't bring her every time. She actually has an ear infection right now, so it's not the best idea to bring her into a water environment to get water in her ears. I guess that's a common thing with Cocker Spaniels, which I didn't know. I've never had one before, but poor little thing. Anyways, you can see it's not like an instant pump up, but it takes 10 or 15 minutes like Chad was saying. So they make the hard paddle boards. We got the inflatable ones because we have a Jeep, and you would think that the big ones would fit in the Jeep, but they don't. So it's really nice to be able to fold them up, put them away, and they actually impressively fold up into this backpack. And so you can put the
everything, the whole paddleboard.
The paddles, the fins, the water shoes, and the whole board will roll up and fit in this backpack, so you can take it with you hiking to remote locations. You can even put the it comes with a hand pump, so if you're taking it to a hike and going paddleboarding in the middle of nowhere where you don't have electricity or a car pump to be able to pump it up, you can put the pump actually in the bag and just carry it on your back. It's super handy, and it's really impressive that that huge freaking board folds down into this backpack. It's freaking awesome. All right, so we got the one inflated. We're gonna hook up the other one, but before we do that, Chad's gonna come over here because we're gonna talk about how important it is to make sure that your board is inflated to the proper PSI level, because we got a little bit lazy last year when we were doing the hand pumping ourselves and tried to squeak away with under PSI because we were like, it feels like it's fine, but it really wasn't.
Yeah, so for anybody who doesn't know what PSI is, it's the actual pressure. I don't even actually fucking know.
I don't know what it stands for. It is pressure.
So anyway, you have to have your paddle boards.
Yeah.
Between 12 and 15 PSI is what it recommends. So we have these electric pump, and it has a reader on it, and it tells you digitally what it's at. So as it's pumping up, it goes up, and once it gets between 12 and 15, good to go.
Definitely recommend on the higher end to be at 15, because sometimes when you take the
it's really inflated
out, it'll release a little bit of air at that point. So definitely on the higher end, especially if you're going to put a cooler on them or bring some camera equipment or whatever. If you're bringing stuff on the board with you, extra weight or a dog, for example, then the higher the PSI, the better. Like, don't go over what it suggests, but definitely the higher end.
Otherwise it's too squishy. So, and snacks, heavy snacks need lots of PSI.
Very concerned about the snacks. Hello.
Here we are.
Back there. And as you can see, very calm. Beautiful day. We really like this place for paddleboarding because it's nice and calm and narrow, so there's scenery on both sides, which I really like, because when you're in open water sometimes it can be a little bit boring because it's the same scenery the whole time, but this place is really nice. It's got some really cool bridges up there we're gonna go under. I'm not really a lake water kind of person. I don't really like to swim in like swampy, seaweedy, creaturey lake water. So I was nervous about these being sturdy and if they would tip over very easily, wasn't I?
You were very nervous, and they're very, very sturdy. So you luckily, knock on wood, no swampy tip overs.
No, we did have one accident that we'll tell you about later on in the video, as we mentioned previously. However, for the most part, they are very durable. Like, they're super hard. They feel like a hard board, even though they're inflatable boards.
Exactly. So we were skeptical when we were debating on getting this. Of course, Amazon, you can just return it, so no big deal. Why not? But we totally thought it'd be flimsy. We thought it would be like a, like a blow-up toy for a pool, something like that.
Yeah.
Whereas, I mean, that's not going to work when it comes to actually a paddleboard. But surprisingly, it's a different type of plastic. It's very durable, very.
Knock on yours so people can see like how hard it is.
Yeah. Like this thing is like hard as a rock, right? So yeah, you can stand on it. I usually rotate. I spend a lot of time sitting and then on my knees and then standing as well. So that's really fun to kind of stretch the body out as the day goes on.
I mostly, because again, I'm not a strong swimmer either. So I don't like unexpected adventures, tip overs in the water very much. So I try to avoid that. So I don't really stand on mine as much, but as you can see, I use it like a kayak pretty much, but I like it way more than a kayak, and I'm going to tell you why when we go over the points of kayaks, canoes, boats, and paddleboards later on in the video. But I actually like sitting on it like a kayak. It feels super sturdy, and you don't have to, people always think you have to stand up because it's a stand-up paddleboard, but you don't actually. You can just treat it like a kayak. I have my cooler here. Typically, Chad and I both have our own coolers so that we don't have to try to get stuff from each other's boards, but today we're only on a short paddle because
first time out of the year, that's why.
First adventure out of the year.
Doing a quick test.
Doing a test, but normally we pack a whole lunch and drinks and everything, but in my cooler today I have a few snacks and my drone, some camera equipment that I put in Ziploc bags and then put in the cooler to double protect it, hopefully. But again, I'm very careful on mine because I don't like unexpected tips in the water. So if you are thinking of getting an inflatable paddleboard, but you're nervous about the durability or unexpected tip overs in the water, I don't like that. If I'm going in the water, I want to intentionally go in the water, and I'm probably going to get in very awkwardly and slowly. Actually, it takes me a long time to get in the water, especially if it's open water. I don't know. There's a thing, I forget what it's called. I'll put it in here, but it's a thing where it's like you're actually scared to be in open water.
It's real.
I'm
the opposite.
It's a real phobia. Phobia? Is that what it's called?
Phobia, that's it.
It's a real phobia of mine. But Chad will jump in, dive in any water.
So the thing I love most about paddleboarding is you're out in nature. Woo! You get to spend all this time in the sunshine, beautiful environment. You can go what's called earthing with your feet the whole time.
Explain what earthing is to people.
So earthing is this really cool thing where basically, since the invention of shoes, we're no longer connected to the earth. So there's magnetic charges in the earth where if you stand bare feet on the ground or in water, then you're actually getting this charge of energy and healing benefit. So I don't know all the specifics, ins and outs, but there's a lot of good benefits that come along with it.
It's actually measurable though, so you can actually measure the charge of your body before you stand barefoot on the ground or in the water. Actually, the water is better because it's more conductive to electricity. So when you have your feet dangling in water like that, it is really good for earthing. And as humans, we're meant to be connected to the earth, and we're meant to be vibrating with that frequency of the earth's vibration, but because we're so disconnected, we are not like that anymore. So I'll actually insert one of the documentaries that you guys should watch in here that we watched last year. It is life-changing, a big game changer. We loved it so much. We actually got earthing mats for our house that we put at the end of our bed, and you plug it into the wall and it offers that charge of electricity while you sleep. So for 8 hours,
Exactly.
you're
So if
earthing.
you ever wondered why when you go to the beach and you go swimming in the ocean or swimming in a lake all day and why you feel so great after, I mean, of course, you're going to be tired. It's a long day in the sun, but that's why you're naturally earthing.
Yeah,
With the,
so I encourage you guys to go look that up.
Yeah, really cool. So anyway, back to what I was saying about why I love it so much. You're out in nature all day. I bring some snacks. I'm out here. I lie on my paddleboard. I just enjoy every part of being out here. And yeah, there's nothing better that we love doing right now. So a whole lot of fun. And with the inflatable ones, you can pack them up and you can actually put them in a backpack, throw them in the car, and off you go. So you don't need to worry about having a big truck or storage or any of this kind of stuff. Just kind of grab and go. It's great.
That's why we got these ones, because you can package them up really easily. Like you don't need to take up a lot of room in your vehicle, storing like you would if it was bulky, or even a kayak if you had to attach it to like the top of your vehicle or whatever. You don't have to worry about that. And super durable. I wouldn't even know the difference between like a hard board and this board. It feels pretty hard to me. So
you wouldn't know when they're blown up, no.
And you feel super sturdy when you're sitting on it like this. Like you can just move back and forth and you just don't feel like you're gonna unexpectedly tip in the water, which is very important to me.
All right, so we're going to talk to you guys about canoes, boats, kayaks, and paddle boards. So we started canoeing way back in the beginning. And
had you ever canoed before?
I'd never canoed before. So Rebecca grew up
Yeah.
camping in a provincial park in Ontario, Canada called Algonquin Provincial Park.
Beautiful
place.
One of my favorite spots ever.
Yeah, and so you went there as a kid, but I
Yeah.
didn't. So why don't you tell them about that?
So I grew up canoeing, camping, outdoorsing, tent camping primarily, so not like RVing or anything like that. But it was really the best part of my childhood, honestly, and I love it. So we're going to talk about canoes, first of all, and the pros and cons of those. If you're thinking of getting a water vessel of whatever kind, we wanted to go over all of them for you so that you guys can make a good choice based on what would work for you. So let's talk about the pros of canoes, okay?
Yes.
The first pro is that you can do one canoe with 2 or however many people. You can usually fit 2
lots
people
of people,
and a
not
few
just
kids or dogs.
Whole family, yep.
So it's a great option for a family to do it all together, and you can put a lot more belongings in there. So if you're doing camping with a canoe where you go over land into different lakes and go right into the back country and you set up a tent and you bring all your belongings in a canoe with you, and you're going to do that, the canoe is a great option for that because you can store a bunch of your belongings in the canoe. You're also, because you're sitting in the canoe, you're less likely to get wet because you're concealed a little bit in there, as opposed to these paddleboards and kayaks as well. So it depends kind of what you want to do.
Exactly.
And how you're going to use it. That's
right. So the cons are definitely that it is big, it's bulky, you need some sort of way to lug it around, or if you rent it, you have to get somebody to deliver it to you. So it's not really practical if you just have a standard vehicle to kind of move it around.
Yeah, the transportation aspect is you need to have...
Exactly.
Yeah, how would you even, I don't even know. You would have to have like a trailer,
one of those racks or something,
a rack
yep.
on the top,
Yep.
I guess, yeah.
Yep, exactly. So
bulky, heavy. Chad and I went portaging, not backcountry camping, but we went portaging where we canoed to a certain spot and then had to carry the canoe up a mountain essentially, and then get into the next lake up there. And Chad carried the canoe on his own. You just put it like over
your shoulder upside down. You just kind of give her. So it's a huge workout.
Heavy though, and it's when you're going up a mountain. I mean, it's not really fun to do that.
Exactly.
It's easier to deflate paddle boards and
way easier.
bring them up.
This is how it works. You get older, you get lazier.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll graduate to a boat at one point. You just fire up the engine.
Yeah. So those are pretty much the pros and the cons of the canoe.
Let's talk about a kayak.
Okay, kayak is something that I didn't do until a couple years ago, and I loved it, but they are not as sturdy, I find, as paddleboards.
No,
We're
they're not.
starting with the cons here, okay?
Yep.
They are very wobbly, tippy. You can't fit...
Tippy, is that a word?
Tipsy. You can't fit a lot of belongings in them. Like they make different types of them, obviously, but the ones that we've tried, like they don't feel as stable, I wouldn't say.
Exactly. So some of them are 2-seaters though, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So that's something that is nice. But yeah, you're kind of confined. You know, like you got your legs deep in it, and it's a bit claustrophobic if you're not a good swimmer and you have claustrophobia, right? Which would be her. So you know, obviously with a canoe, you have lots of leg room. You can kind of maneuver, do your thing. A little bit more old school. I feel like the kayak was a newer and improved version of the canoe, but certainly comes with some cons. But the benefit it is, even though it's more tippy, as you said, it's probably a little bit more maneuverable too, right?
It
so
is.
you can
It's lighter,
a bit more
it's
control
easier to carry as well if you're going to portage
and lighter as well.
Much lighter. You can go pretty fast in them because they're so light. And yeah, I had fun doing it, but honestly, it wouldn't be my first choice for sure. I don't feel as safe and stable. And the other con to a kayak, well, a kayak and a canoe, as opposed to a paddleboard, is you can't stand up or stretch in it because they're so wobbly.
That's right.
So you don't have the option of like going on your knees or standing up and stretching out. So it can actually really have a lot of impact on your like lower back and your body. So
exactly, and that's one thing I love about our paddleboards. So many times we're out here all day long, sometimes 4, 5, 6 hours. So you get really stiff. So you can get up, you can stretch, you can stand, you can go on your knees, you can lie down, you can do everything. It's like your own little
really
space,
versatile.
Which is really cool. And we didn't know that before we got them. And so that's something I really love. I don't get stiff, and I'm not confined to a certain space. So now let's talk about boats.
Okay, boats. This is one category that I absolutely love, and I would highly recommend a boat if you're thinking of it, but there's some cons to boating too. Now, I grew up with my
There's a financial cost as well.
Well, there is much more of a financial commitment to that as well. I grew up with my Opa having a boat, so we went boating quite a bit as kids, and we loved it. He had a speedboat. I'll insert some footage here. My brother actually ended up buying his boat, and so it's still part
really cool story on that one.
Still in the family, which is really awesome. And so I got to go in it last summer, which is really fun. Brought back lots of amazing memories. But boating, I love it. I don't know. I think boating would be like probably before kayaks. Like if I had to choose, I would choose boat. I would then go paddleboarding. I would then do canoeing, and then I would do kayaking at the end. That's kind of like my roster. I love boating. So the pros are obviously, I mean, there's so many pros. You can bring as much stuff on the boat as you want pretty much. You can
go
fast, which is really fun. That's probably my favorite part, is going fast.
Yeah, and so we rented one a few years ago. It was funny. It was expensive. I think it was like $300 or $400 for the day, but
I think
we had
it was
such a cool time.
$800 or something.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
so it was a speedboat. We rented on this big lake up in northern Ontario.
It's because it was in a really touristy area.
Yeah,
so
we just had some fun.
They like to charge people up there.
Yeah, they just like to rake your wallet. So anyway, financial is definitely a component of that. But yeah, if you have the means to do it, and storage too. Yeah, and you have to tow it. So there's a lot of things that are involved in a boat. It's not as easy to kind of bring around. You know, that we really love the portability of our paddle boards. Yeah. Just grab and go, deflate, inflate. You know, you're not lugging big bulky things around. So yeah, the birds are here to cheer us on.
The thing about the boats too, and the towability is like, depending on what kind of RV setup you have, it might not be practical at all. Like if you're towing a fifth wheel, you can't really tow a boat behind that. So you'd have to have two vehicles, one towing the RV and one towing the boat. So that's something to think about. And storage too. Like if you're traveling in your RV, you know, yeah, you're gonna have to store it somewhere. It's kind of a whole other thing to think about.
Okay, so to sum it up, I've kind of been a little bit biased. I've been hinting away at my favorite the whole time, which is absolutely our blow-up paddle boards. Only $200 each on Amazon, and we love it. We used it so much all summer long. Deflate it, inflate it, throw it in the backpack, throw it in the car. You don't need to worry about storage, portability. You can literally pick a lake on a map, go there same day, do it up, and then come right back. So we love the flexibility. That is one of the major pros of the blow-up paddleboard, and the durability is there as well, which was a con that we thought was the case, but it's not actually the case.
Yeah, and the stability of it too. And the other really good pro of paddleboards, and I guess even kayaks and canoes, is that you can go on the lakes where they don't allow motors. So there's a lot of lakes in Ontario and Canada where they don't allow motorized boats. So you can also get into like crevices and rivers that are more shallow that you can't get into in a boat as well. So lots of really scenic areas that you can maneuver really easily with the paddle boards, and you can even just take them into the middle of the lake and go swimming off of them. They're actually pretty easy to get back on. Tried it for the first time last year.
Yeah.
Even though I looked like a soggy wet like whale trying to get back on, like going like this, like it was hard, but like not as hard as I thought, and I was able to get back on. So, and I'm not very like,
she's not.
I just wouldn't, I don't know. It was hard for me. You made it look easier to get back on. And I was like, oh, you can do that. Okay, I'll just do it. Then I was like, we'll get some footage this summer of me trying to get back on.
Yeah,
after
it'll be great to show you guys.
After I've been swimming. It's not a beautiful sight to see, but you know, it works.
Exactly. So we love it. So we'd love to hear from you guys in the comments. What's your preference? Is it a boat? Is it a kayak? Yeah. Is it a paddleboard? Is it, what's the fourth one?
Canoe.
Canoe. Is it a canoe? Old school.
Like I will say too that they make like variations of these things. Like you can get an inflatable kayak, you can get an inflatable boat, you can put, I've seen people put a motor on the back of their inflatable boats. Yeah, really cool. So they make a lot of different variations. So do your research and figure out how you're going to be traveling with it, how you're going to be using it most of the time, and make your decision based on that. Okay, let's do a little quick essentials in the cooler bag that we bring with us. So we each have our own. So we have our own cooler bag on each of our paddle boards. Chad just didn't bring his today because we're not doing a long one, but usually we have our lunch in there, we have drinks, we put ice packs in there, lots of snacks. But in the compartments of the cooler, I like to keep some certain things that I don't have to keep thinking about remembering what to bring. One of them is hand sanitizer, really important when you're touching all of the, the water and the dirty paddle boards and stuff, and you're gonna eat your lunch, you're gonna want to have some hand sanitizer. A bungee cord, this is really handy if you are pulling up to a launch spot to have lunch, or you're pulling off to the side of the riverbank, or if you wanna just connect your paddleboard with your friends or your partners and have lunch together or paddle side by side, you can connect them with a bungee cord like that, super easy. So I always keep that in there. Hand moisturizer, because my hands get really dry when I'm in the water, and I hate dry hands, drives me nuts. So I have that. We have a waterproof portable speaker, which we don't do in very public areas because that would be annoying to other people, but sometimes if we're in the middle of nowhere and we want to have some Morgan Wallen or some nice country music, this is really, really nice to have. We can just play the music through Bluetooth on our phone. What else? I have a Ziploc bag for anything that I need to put in there, like, electronic-wise, microphones, my phone, anything that I don't want to get wet. So put it in a Ziploc and then put it in the cooler as well for some double protection. What else do we have in here? Oh, yes, definitely important for each cooler to have its own bottle of sunscreen and bug spray. Now, I don't love sunscreen and bug spray because I know they're not good to put on your skin. If you guys have any better suggestions rather than this product, I know it's probably not the best for your skin and your health and your well-being, and then obviously the bug spray, but I've tried some natural products and they don't work for me for these things. I do natural skincare and different things like that, but when it comes to sunscreen and bug spray, I don't like to experiment with that too much because I want to make sure that it's effective and it works, especially the bug spray, because for me, I get eaten alive. So if you guys have any tips for better products, then let me know. But for now, this is what's in each of our cooler bags. And and also I usually bring a little fanny pack. I forgot it today because it's our first time out, so hi, Chad's back. But usually I have a fanny pack that I can keep my phone in just to keep it and pull it out really easily for when I want to take pictures and do content. But other than that, that's pretty much what we have. I usually have a whistle in here for safety purposes. And of course, in my pack today, I have my drone and some camera stuff, and then we have snacks and different things in the cooler. Let me know in the comments what are some things that I'm missing that I should have in here. Probably some duct tape maybe in case we get into a situation and we need some help. Maybe a little, I don't know, what are some things that I'm missing in my bag for safety or convenient purposes? Let me know in the comments.
Okay, so some safety tips for you guys. Definitely important to always have a life jacket when you're out on the water, whether you're in a boat, canoe, kayak, or a paddleboard. I don't personally.
Water vessel has to have their own. Like each vessel has to have however many people there are. That has to be the same amount of life jackets.
Rebecca's wearing her life jacket because she is not a great swimmer, unlike me. So I have mine on my paddleboard. You know, I don't actually wear it because it's hot and sweaty and bulky, but it's always available for me if I need it. I'm a very good swimmer. I grew up with a pool my whole life, actively in the water, so no issue there.
Some other safety features are you're supposed to, well, you would want to check the safety requirements in your specific area. I'm sure they differ greatly, but in Canada on the water, you also need to have a whistle, a safety whistle. Like I said, I forgot mine today, but Chad has, I don't think we have. I think we have one. But
don't sue us.
It's because I keep them in the coolers because typically we each have our own cooler. So it's easy for me to keep like our own bug spray, our own sunscreen, our own whistles, our own different things that we just always keep in there so we don't have to remember to bring it. Other safety things, the most important safety thing I would say is that the weather is very important. And we got stuck in some really sketchy situations last year because the weather seemed fine, but it can turn really quickly, especially if you're on Great Lakes or big bodies of water. It can change so freaking fast. So
exactly, especially if you went really far down and you're in open water and you got to come all the way back. So it's very important to kind of make note of how long you've been paddling. We usually are out there, we say, okay, you know, we've been an hour and a half, so we know it's going to be 3 hours total and an hour and a half to come back. So we kind of time our day.
Keeping track of time actually is a really good safety point too, because if you're just paddling in one direction and it's not going to like loop around or anything, which most lakes don't, you're going to have to paddle backwards the same amount of time that you paddled forward. So keeping that in mind is really important. And knowing that, like, you want to check the weather, the hourly weather throughout the day, because just because it looks nice out when you leave doesn't mean that your paddle back is not going to be absolutely treacherous for you. So ask us how we know from personal experience, right?
Yeah, we've been stuck in some sketchy situations. We had a lot of fun last year, so we're trying to avoid these for you guys.
We're definitely going to avoid these going forward because it scared the crap out of me a few times last year. But paddling in the wind, or if you're going down a river and you have to paddle back like against the current, depending on how strong the current is, that will take you much longer. So don't underestimate the power of the wind and the power of the current, because it is very hard, especially when you're on inflatable paddleboards specifically, because they're very light. So because they're very light, if you have wind coming at you, it's going to literally, like a sail, push you back. It is very, very hard to control these things when it's really windy. So do not go paddleboarding when it is super windy, and do not go paddleboarding down rivers with really, really strong currents, because the chances of you getting back are not good, especially when you're tired too, because when you're coming back, you're more tired than when you started. So
yeah, and so one story last year is it was a wavy day. We probably shouldn't have went out, and so we went one way and we got so far in like a half hour, and it literally took us like 2 hours to get back the other way, and it felt like we were just treading water, literally, zing. And so coming back, yeah, it was like triple the amount of time.
Are you talking about the Point Pelee?
Yeah, that was the one.
It was probably one of the first few times that we went out too, and we were so
amateurs.
Excited. And yeah, it was super treacherous, and like the waves were coming on top of our paddleboards. Like the water was coming like this straight at us, going back towards where we came from, and it literally felt like we were not moving even a freaking inch. Like I didn't know what was happening. But that's not the treacherous story that we're going to tell you about, but that's just one of the many adventures we've been on with these things. So if you guys have any questions or suggestions, comments, anything like that about paddleboarding or being on the water, safety tips, anything at all, really, put it in the comments below and let us know. Or if you have any questions about the inflatable boards, we're happy to answer them. So let us know in the comments.
Hey guys, I'm so glad you're hanging out with me today. I just wanted to explain about myself being a super high achiever and how much being out in nature, such as paddleboarding, really helps me unwind and decompress. My entire life, I've always been super competitive. I'm a marathon runner. I played hockey growing up, and it was really difficult for me getting into this slower type of mindset. So I don't know if anybody watching this can relate to it, or they have a partner, a friend, a family member that's really kind of hustle, go, go, go. I mean, this was me for so much of my life. So when Rebecca and I first met, she would take me on walks and hikes and trails, and I would be like, what the hell is the point of this? I got stuff to do. So needless to say, that is obviously not healthy long term, and I'm beginning to become better at being less of a high achiever. I'm still super driven, still full of energy for days. I'm an extrovert, but I'm finding a lot of peace and solace in being outdoors in nature and slowing down, being on the water, being on a beautiful hike, in the mountains, at the beach, you name it. And I've actually grown to love this type of lifestyle where you slow down and you actually reflect and you unwind. And trust me, as an achiever, high achiever, this is very difficult. If you're watching this and you're not a high achiever, you're probably thinking, what do you mean? It's easy to just hang out and do nothing. For me, it's not. I used to always say, you know those people that go to like a all-inclusive resort for 7 days and they're cool with just lying on the beach for 7 straight days and doing absolutely nothing? That is very difficult for me to do. I feel like I couldn't last more than a day before, and I feel like maybe I could do 3-4 days if I'm lucky now. But the whole point is it's so important. My advice from one achiever to you, or to someone you may know, is that, yeah, just take a minute to breathe, take a minute to just soak in the beauty of this wonderful world that we're in. And this is why Rebecca and I are so excited about living in an RV full time once our house sells, because we can just do more of this. But in the meantime, we're just going to continue to do more of this. Thanks so much for hearing me and supporting our channel. If you like what you're seeing, please subscribe. We're doing really good out of the gate here, and you guys have been amazing, sending us, messages and comments and really helping us out on our journey. And I'd love to hear from you. If you're a high achiever and you struggle with just sitting there in silence and doing anything, let me know. I'd love to hear that. It would make me feel better about my go, go, go mentality. So,
ladies, I forgot something very important. If you know, you know. Sunscreen. Don't forget to sunscreen where your hair parts. I don't know about you, but I have got some pretty nasty burns there, and it peels. It's disgusting. So don't forget to do that. And finally, it's Chad's favorite time, which is
snack time. It's a necessity.
Just like in kindergarten where you had snacky time, recess,
drinks, time. Bananas, granola bars. Yeah. You got to come prepared. You don't want to be out on the lake hangry.
Absolutely not. And it reminds me, and I can't believe I have to say this, but whatever you do, take your garbage with you, pack in, pack out. That is the rule for all you wild animals out there that do not take your garbage with you and throw it into this beautiful nature that we have. Yeah, absolutely.
Respect it.
Absolutely not.
I realize my mic's, is your mic on?
Take it with you, pack it in, pack it out. Don't forget to do that. Got to keep the nature beautiful to enjoy for everybody.
That's right.
For the moment you have all been waiting for, our treacherous story from last year on the paddleboards, where we learned a very important lesson on weather, safety, and exactly what not to do with our paddleboards.
You got it. So don't rest on your laurels. So basically what was happening is we were paddleboarding on Lake Superior. So it's part of the Great Lake system that is in Ontario as well as part of the US. Why don't you pop a little thing on the map on the screen there. So basically what happens...
It's one of the most treacherous lakes. Yeah, we actually did do a lot of research before we went on this lake. We watched a lot of YouTube videos. Yeah. There was a lot of people saying don't do it, and a lot of people saying like you can do it if you follow like these things and whatever. So we did do research, but
exactly. So it was relatively calm that day, and I say relative for Lake Superior because it was still really wavy.
Perfect morning for a paddle on Lake Superior. Morning coffee, so it's early. Chad's getting set up, and we are heading out. There's the sun. Where is it?
So what happened is we found a really nice spot near the coast. We went over to the side and we started to eat our lunch as we normally do. We find a nice cozy spot and just start hanging out and relaxing. And
we were sitting on our paddle boards near the shore. There was like some rocks there. So usually what we'll do is we don't usually get off our paddle boards and eat our lunch on the shore, which would be the smarter thing to do. But we were sitting on our paddle boards like with our foot on the rock to kind of anchor us there. So we were like close to shore, but still in the water on our boards. But we were facing the shore, so we were facing away from anything that was happening in the lake.
Exactly. So yeah, we just started eating our lunch. The water's calm, everything's fine, and we're just in mid-conversation, talking about our day, having a good time. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we start to just, bob and weave. And we're like, "What's going on?" And it must have been a wake from some boat well in the distance. And then we're like, "Okay, that was kind of weird, but it wasn't too big of a deal." And then all of a sudden,
because we were facing the shore, it hit us unexpectedly.
Yeah.
Like the waves. That's why it freaked us out, because we were not even paying attention to what was happening. So it came at us from the back, which was super scary.
Exactly. So all of a sudden the second one comes in and it threw us. And so
it was massive.
All of your camera equipment, our lunch, my sandwich. Can we have a moment of silence for Chad's ham sandwich? Okay,
so what happened was it literally flipped me off the board into the water, which I already told you is my worst nightmare. It freaks me out. I don't like the aspect of not being in control and being thrust in the freaking water like that unexpectedly from behind. And so my cooler with all my camera equipment, everything was open because we were eating our lunch in the middle of that. And all I remember was I was in the water, which freaked me out, and Chad just dove over me to grab
try to save the equipment while tossing my other sandwich. I had a bag of chips. It was flipped upside down. It was all mushy, and so basically my lunch was toast. And I know that's a huge deal for a lot of people watching this, right? Or maybe it's just me. Lunch was ruined, and so luckily I got to eat dinner later, so it wasn't the end of the world. But the main thing was the electronics. So I dove in, threw the food, grabbed the cooler that was half tipped, and I knew all the stuff was going to get wet, and I just chucked it onto shore. And so luckily, thank God, none of the equipment was actually ruined, but there was a puddle of water in the bottom of the cooler where the equipment was. So yeah, we dodged a bullet. If that had happened and we weren't near shore,
that would happen.
Yeah, and this came out of nowhere. It wasn't even a wavy day. It was just a wake in the distance. And it's not even, we see boats every now and then, and a little bit of a wake comes. You can handle it.
But if you're
but this was unexpected.
If you're facing the waves, you can kind of brace yourself and rebalance yourself for them. So it's not like the waves are really a big deal. You just have to be aware that they're coming so you can brace yourself. Whereas we were in such an awkward, weird position that was not a good position. It flipped me right over. I went under the water. It freaked me. I didn't know how deep the water was there. I thought I was going to drown. I did not know
I'd save
what was happening. Well, you were concerned about saving my equipment, which I'm actually very grateful for. But if you save the equipment and not me, then I don't know what good the equipment is.
The equipment had a smaller lifespan than you would have.
Yes. So anyways, that was a big lesson. But not only that, but this Lake Superior wanted to teach us an extra lesson, because our lunch was ruined. So we were hangry, heading back, paddling back. We had, an hour paddle left to go. And the sky was getting dark. It was freaking me out. It was so dark. And I was any freaking second, it is going to pour like crazy. And luckily the paddle boards, another good thing about the paddle boards is even if it does rain, you're not going to get the water inside your vessel and sink you down. It's just going to go off the sides of it. So it's not really a big deal if you get caught in the rain, aside from my camera equipment getting wet, which, by the way, don't take my advice and put your electronics in Ziploc bags and in a cooler. That's not really a super waterproof thing. You can get waterproof bags, so don't do what I do. I need to get a waterproof bag for my gear. But anyways, the sky was literally pitch black. I was freaking out because I'm it's going to start freaking pouring down on us any second, and who knows, I started hearing thunder in the distance. And as we're in the middle of the lake paddling back, we are not close to where we need to be by this point. It literally starts lightning as we're in the water. As we're paddling with our metal fricking paddles in the middle of water, which is super dangerous, it is like fork lightning in the distance. I'm like, okay, this,
we're holding metal rods,
this
not a good idea.
is just, what a freaking disaster. I was so stressed out. We were hangry. I was wet. We were trying to get back to shore. I didn't even know how far away from shore we were at that point. And it was really scary. So that taught us a really important lesson to make sure
check the weather.
You check the weather throughout the entire day. If you plan on being there the entire day, you need to check like what your evening weather is going to look like when you're paddling back, not just when you leave to go paddling. So take that as a lesson learned and do your research. And you know, if you're going to be taking a break and having your lunch, just either get off your board on the shore and have your lunch, or make sure that you're facing the big body of water and not facing the shore and not paying attention to what's happening behind you, because that can happen quite easily if a boat goes by and it causes a bunch of waves. So that's our story for you. We hope you liked this vlog style episode. If you did, definitely let us know in the comments below and we'll do some more for you, because we had a lot of fun doing it.
Lots of fun.